Hey everyone, we are going to focus on two really exciting demos that you can follow along with for these updates. Also, I linked the documentation for both of these demos down below, so make sure to go check it out. All right, let's dive into it.
Hey Stackbit community, I want to show you a feature I am super excited about, and it's the ability to bring your own custom asset sources to your Stackbit project. This is huge because while you don't get all the benefits of the built-in integrations we have, like the one with Cloudinary, you do have the ability to break away from how your content source wants you to handle asset management by default. And if you're using file-based content with Git CMS, this is super powerful because it means that you don't have to store your media files directly in your repository. The way this works is that you provide a public URL that lists all your images and any other custom behavior you want to include, and this page gets loaded in an iframe that is presented in a modal in the Stackbit editor, and then using a post message call, you can send the selected image back to Stackbit, transform it, and store it in the content source. Let me show you how it works. Okay, here I have our basic Next.js starter, but the hero section has been manipulated to support an image. So if I click on the hero section, I can add an image, I can choose something from my local repository, or upload, say, this cool beach photo. And then as I upload that, we'll see it appear in my hero section. The downside is that image just got added to my repository, and as your site grows, this can be really hard to manage. So instead of using local images in this project, let's add a custom asset source. To do that, we add a new configuration property called asset sources, and this, like content sources, is an array because you can have more than one. And it takes a number of properties. The first is name, and in this case, I'm going to show you an example that just pulls random images from Unsplash and then stores the URLs directly just so we can kind of see how this works. So let's just call this Unsplash asset source. And the type is going to be an iframe. And we need a URL here. And this URL in this case is going to be this demo site that we've built, which is Unsplash asset source.netlify.app. Now, let's go and take a look at this URL before we go any further. This page, it's just a list of 8 individual images. And if I refresh, I get 8 new images every time. And the code here is pretty simple. Really what we're doing is we're using a list of categories, cycling through them, and returning some sort of featured or random image from Unsplash, and then rendering them on the page. The magic, though, is what happens when you click on an image. So notice that each item here has a click event listener, and the callback here looks for a parent object on the window, which means that the window is being embedded within an iframe. And so if it finds that parent, then it can call window.parent.postMessage, pass it an object with any custom information you want about that image that can be stored in the content source. And then this second argument here just says we can use it on any domain. You will likely want to be more specific in your implementation. So now that we see how it works, we need 2 more properties. The first one is called transform, and transform is a function that receives asset data as one of the properties in the object. And we can manipulate this object and we can return anything we want. In this case, all we're going to do is call assetData.unsplash image URL. Now, let's go back to that source code from the custom asset source. Notice here that what we're posting is an object and it has one property called unsplash image URL, and that is the URL directly to that unsplash image. And so here we make sure that the property matches what is coming in from that asset source through that post message method call. The other property we need is called preview, and preview is what Stackbit uses to render the asset in the sidebar as an image field control. Here we also have a property called asset data, and asset data, if we're going to type this correctly, is in this case just going to be a string, and the reason for that is because all we stored in the content source here, this return value, was the image URL. So that gets stored directly to the field. And so we know asset data here is just going to be a string. And so really all we have to do is return that string, but Stackbit here is expecting an object, so we can just return image, and that should be the URL. So that's going to be asset data. Now, the last thing we have to do is we have to tell Stackbit which fields we want to use this source. Because if we don't specify a specific asset source, then it's going to fall back to the default source for that particular content source. So with the get content source, by default, it's going to respect this assets config property, which is telling it to store images in the public images directory. But what we want for the hero image is for it to use the Unsplash asset source. And I just noticed that I have a typo here. And so let's copy that name. And then over in my hero section, you can see I have my image field definition here. And all I have to do is add one more key, source, and the value, which should match the name of that custom asset source. So now if I save this, I can go back into Stackbit and we're going to see different behavior. Now if I click change on the existing image, notice the modal that pops up is that custom asset source, that HTML file that I shared with you. And so if I click one of these, it's going to fire that post message call, and it's going to store that URL directly on the image field in our content source, and then it will also display the correct image on the front end. So this is just the beginning of what you can do with custom asset sources, and I'm really excited to see how you apply it to your project.
In this example, I'm going to share with you how you can easily integrate Bynder into a Stackbit project. For this example, I am using Next.js and also to Git for the content source. In your Stackbit config file, we will need to add Bynder as an asset source. Then start up your local development server and also to the Stackbit development server. Let me open up Stackbit here. All right, you can see here I am in my project with Stackbit running. Now the first time you try and access an image or asset modal, let's go here to this image, click on change. You will see here you will be prompted to connect your brand portal. And let's connect. From there, you will see all of your images and assets that you can start using right in Stackbit. All right, I hope you enjoyed going through both of those demos. I know I really enjoyed creating one of them and going through Sean's as well. If you have any questions about either the demos or anything else, make sure to leave down in the comments. We will respond to them, or you can visit us in our Discord, which I also link down below. See you soon.